quit live yet.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Moment Live.
Okay, we're live on Instagram. It had a slight delay. Good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing? Rebecca, Jeffrey, it's good to be with you guys.
Good. It's good to have Jeffrey with us. Jeffrey J. We've got a guest co-host in the house.
Jeffrey J is my friend, but he's also a transgender comedian and a comedy writer for 20 years. He's been in the New York Times, The Guardian, and called one of 7 LGBTQ comics you shouldn't miss. He hails from the great state of Texas in a town so Texas, it's called
Texas City, Texas.
Texas City, Texas. Wow.
Jeffrey J, welcome to the Moment. We're so glad you're here. And you know what? I'm just going to make it about me for like 0.2 seconds. One of the things that social media loves to tell me is that I should quit comedy and I'm not a funny comedian. And you have actually been my comedy teacher many times over. So I've been waiting for this day to set the record straight. Am I decent at comedy?
Yeah. Well, not only that, but what's really fascinating about your comedy, I'm glad that you brought this up, because this is like something that I've thought about before, is that people will do pop culture comedy and it can be funny, but it's not very memorable. And the thing that I like about when you go up and do a set, it's always a ton of people I don't know. But then you pull it into somehow your trauma. And I go, not only do I now know this member of reality show television or politician, but I also know how it connects to your mother dying.
Yeah, exactly.
So the way that you marry it is really fun, and I think it's actually helpful.
Thank you. Well, anyway, that's enough about me, but you guys put this in the log. Jeffrey J says, I ain't that bad.
Happened on the moment, happened live, can't take it back.
But there are some bad things that are going on, you guys. And I would say, like, honestly, I said to Rebecca this weekend, I sent her the opening line of A Tale of Two Cities. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Because, like, let's talk about the government reopening first, or on its way to reopening first.
Yeah, I mean, just like Sunday night, I'm minding my own business. We just came out of this. Literally, the Moment's title last week was, "Is the news good?" Everybody's feeling like, okay, like not all is lost. The Democrats are out here. There's some momentum behind it. We're on the longest shutdown in history. And then 8 Democrats, none of whom are up for re-election, by the way, come out and capitulate to the Republicans with basically nothing, right? Like they didn't get anything out of this. I guess SNAP is extended for another year, but like none of the things they went into it, which is like protecting our premiums from skyrocketing, which will skyrocket. And like, I don't know, it just, to me, I'm like, it felt like they let the whole air out of the balloon politically, but also personally. Now I'm like, okay, I really do have to worry about these premiums hiking. And then I was saying before we came on, Angus King, who is an independent from Maine, but caucuses with the Democrats, was one of the 8 who did this. And then he went on TV and like, not only did he throw the Democrats under the bus, he was like, well, actually, what we really learned is like, you can't fight Donald Trump. Like the whole 40 days of people not having their paychecks, SNAP about to freeze, like, the Americans went through all this pain, and what you came up with is like, you can't fight City Hall. I mean, am I too hot today? I really had to get this off my chest. Sorry.
You know what I have to get off my chest?
Say
Tim
it.
Kaine, I forgot that you existed. Okay? Yeah. You dumb motherfucker. Okay? Tim Kaine, I have always thought was the dead weight of the Clinton campaign, and now congratulations, you are going to make people be dead. So here's the thing, like all of these Democrats that voted this way, like I'm actually not surprised by, because they're none of the Democrats that are sort of leading the charge right now on being more progressive. Like they aren't the people that you're seeing.
Not even progressive. It's like wet new, you know what I mean? Like even the progressive Democrat, it's like it is the most institutional. Can I read you a headline? Dem surrender mastermind is denounced by her own daughter. Jean Shaheen of New Hampshire's daughter is running for a district in like a Congress seat, and came out and disagreed with her mother. And now, but it's like, yeah, it's not even progressives versus moderates. It's like people who are not up for re-election versus the rest of us.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing I also find really interesting. And Jeffrey, I don't know if you have holiday travel, because that's coming up, but like
Texas City, Texas.
Right. I'm just watching this right now, and it's like, it doesn't look like this is going to like improve the flight situation in the next couple of weeks either. Like it's still creating these FAA problems. So I was just wondering, Jeffrey, like as somebody, you're in this industry and a lot of us rely on things like the ACA. Are there certain things that, are on the radar for you as a, working comic?
During the shutdown?
Yeah. Just like with these ACA credits.
You know what? I'll tell you what, for us, it was, I have a lot of privilege in that I don't have to do a lot of regular things that, people do. So for what was on our radar was me and my partner going out and supporting people who, their benefits had been cut off, and, food bank stuff. And that was what was like pretty scary for us, was just making sure that the people out there were able to get food. That seems so simple and easy. And the thing is that, like, I feel like caving makes it so much worse, because it kind of it's like, what's the point? And we were really, and I don't know how the extent of how bad it is, but I felt like everyone in my life, we were all so ready to, like, we were showing up.
Yes.
We were volunteering, we were donating to food banks and stuff. And we're like, we're going to ride this together and make sure everyone's taken care of, so it matters.
Yeah, it just feels like, for what? And like, I was even tickled by like as a nerd, that Trump over the weekend was like, oh, I mean, I guess he's been doing this for a little while. And I was like, get rid of the filibuster. And like, even if they had pushed it far enough that the Republicans had to end it and end the filibuster, would have been a bigger win than this. Like, at least it would have put it in the Republicans' hand, and they would have had to do something that Democrats had been trying to do forever. They just like totally caved on everything. And my dog is very upset about this too. Wait, but I do want to talk about good news, which is the Supreme Court didn't take up Kim Davis's absurd pushback on Obergefell, the ruling that allows for gay marriage across America. So like, the small bit of good news that isn't bad news, throwing it out there.
Well, I have a question for Jeffrey on that. Like, Jeffrey, does that even, and Rebecca, I don't mean this personally towards you, but like, does that even feel like good news?
What, the
you know
Kim
what I mean?
Davis
Like,
thing?
yeah, because it's like, I can't believe we're at this point, that we get to this point. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like almost like it's the bare minimum. Of course you shouldn't take it up. So how does that feel?
Yeah, it's just absent of bad news.
Oh, totally.
Maybe.
Yeah, I will say the good news of it is all the Kim Davis memes are coming back. They are so much fun.
Wait, which one's your favorite?
Okay, there's one where it's just like pictures of her face, and it's the South Park song Kyle's mom's a B word, and it's just pictures of her. I don't know if you remember the old Kyle's mom's a, I don't want to say it for Instagram reasons, but that made me laugh so hard. And like every time it would say her name, her face would come up. And it's just like the ultimate Karening of something.
Yeah.
She also, I remember when she first brought this up, I did some Googling. She's been married like at least 3 times. I'm like, okay, the same marriage over there, like, whatever. But like, okay, You
Don't
are the
quote
poster
me.
child?
I believe she's been married 4 times to 3
times.
different men, which I love that even more. That's actually worse than being married 4. Like, there's nothing wrong with being married multiple times. That's whatever.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, tell that to my second husband waiting in the wings. But like, there's nothing wrong with being married multiple times, but the sanctity of marriage then becomes a little shaky. But I love anybody.
Like, why is this your business, Kim Davis?
Amazing.
So, you know, one thing that isn't my business, but I'm making it my business, is that Kris Jenner turned 70 over the weekend. And listen, I'll give her this. She looks fucking great, but when you're that rich, it's a little bit easier to look fucking great.
Sure.
But her birthday party was thrown by none other than Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez.
I actually know somebody who was there.
And I just think it's like this juxtaposition right now of like, while that was happening, the Senate Democrats were capitulating. And it's kind of like, you got to read the room, Sarah Paulson. Like, I can't believe some of the people who are now willing to go and hobnob. And to me, it's just sort of like, oh, like, you guys really don't care, you know? Like, you don't care. Oprah's on, or Gayle King's on TV today talking about, you know, menopause and things like that. And I'm like, they're actively dismantling women's health. Like, you don't, like, it doesn't get to be all these things and then you get to go to the party. It just doesn't work that way.
Couldn't agree more. It's like, I nothing bothers me more than people who take up social political issues as their mantle for their PR and then go and do the opposite. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I've always sort of felt about the Kardashians, like, at least they're like, yeah, we really don't care. We don't care.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, the Kardashians have always been, Lauren Sanchez has always been like, I don't care. But I agree, like, people like Sarah Paulson or Oprah or Gayle King, like, these people who've like made a career talking about how they care and social political issues, and then they go to this, like, you know, like, truly let them eat cake birthday party. Yeah, it's just like the optics are so bad.
Do you think that anybody is advising them and going, hey, just so you know, because I'll tell you, I made a post and one of you's already untagged yourselves from it.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I mean, within seconds, she untagged herself. And this is this woman, Elsa Marie Collins, who has a nonprofit called, or it's a nonprofit partnership called This Is About Humanity that helps people dealing with the border crisis, which is so important. But it's really hard for me to understand how she can put up stories on Instagram being like, I'm going to Costco if anyone wants to Venmo me money so I can bring food to people. Great. I actually think that's totally fine. But then you go to Jeff Bezos's house or you go to Lauren Sanchez's bachelorette party, which she did. And it's like, you feed the beast.
Yeah.
You are like, it's just, I don't know. So it's really hard for me to understand. But one of my favorite things is I made this video and I said, you know, while Tim Kaine was doing this was happening. And someone interpreted that as that I made up that Tim Kaine was at the birthday party. They're like, nice try, Meredith, trying to act like Tim Kaine went to Kris Jenner. And I was like, just imagining Tim Kaine walking around that birthday party.
His 007 costume.
Yes. What do you think Tim Kaine would get Kris Jenner for her birthday, Jeffrey?
Ooh.
God, that's a great question. Okay. My ideal, like, in my head, hyper rich people just get other rich people rare animal driving gloves.
Oh, she would like that. I think she would like those.
I was going to say a girl boss mug, but I want to throw it to, we have a really exciting guest today. Greg Pope White is in the chat right now. He thinks socks. He is the author of The Pink Marine. He is a veteran here on Veterans Day, and he's the executive producer and co-writer of the new TV show on Netflix, Boots, that we all loved. And we were like, wait a minute, it's Veterans Day. It's the anniversary of the Marines. maybe Greg would want to come talk to us. And now Greg is going to tell us why he thinks that Tim Kaine would get Kris Jenner socks for her 70th birthday. Do we have Greg in the house?
I'm trying.
You're joining. You're on your way.
In the house.
I clicked the button.
There you go. No, you're
coming.
Yay! We're
Let
so
there be
happy to
Greg.
have you.
Thank you for having me, especially on this day, speaking about my book and our show and honoring the veterans.
Yeah,
Oh, I
happy
thought you were
Veterans
saying
Day,
on
Greg.
Kris Jenner's birthday.
You know, there were some veterans there, just some veterans of Hollywood, I suppose. I didn't get the invitation. Did y'all go?
Somehow mine was lost in the mail.
Yeah, they didn't call me.
I was going to give her a book. Is that's what everybody wants for Kris Jenner's birthday, right?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Or socks.
Well, happy Veterans Day. I think I speak for all of us when I say thank you for your service. We're really honored to have you here with us today on this really special day.
Thank you. Thank you for having me and wanting the conversation. You know, there's a lot of reasons that people serve, and this is a great chance for you to listen to friends or family members that did and get their stories from them.
I feel like one of the things that like initially, like Boots was such a complicated look at the military. And I feel like, you know, I grew up in a liberal bubble and it's so easy for me to look at the military as like one very specific thing. And so I wonder if like you could bring us back to when you were in the military as a closeted person before you wrote this book. Like bring us back to that time. Can you bring us back to that time a little bit?
Yeah, you know, it's a time when I didn't know what my place was in the world. Society was telling me, and you've all been told no a lot, but to be told that you're wrong and your basic human nature is wrong and you have no place in society, that's a difficult pond to swim out of. So my best friend was going in the Marine Corps and called me and told me that he was going to spend his summer in Marine Corps boot camp at Parris Island. And I just heard summer and camp. And I thought, this is a great chance for me to have this adventure. That's the truth. So, you know, but then as you've all found those doors that closed, Jeffrey, you're a perfect example. You had to open a door and walk through it, regardless of people telling you that you had the right to walk through that door. Mm-hmm. And that's what I had to learn. So, you know, everybody goes in feeling different and other. As I soon found out, there were people that were ashamed of their weight or their poverty or the fact that they'd chosen boot camp over prison. You know, this is the Marine Corps has a lot of flaws, but they've got a lot of great things about them too. And at the end of the day, they took a chance on me when I wasn't taking a chance on myself. Society wasn't taking a chance on me, and they just taught me to forward march, put on those boots and march.
I don't just want to say really quick, boots. I think one of the reasons it's so good is because I think people want you to choose one or the other and take a strong stand against certain things. And what's really what I felt the most seen in with Boots is that I was raised in the South. My mother's a Republican judge. I had to hide my transness for a bit so that we could both have very successful careers. And I have such a strong love of the South, and you can love something so intensely and find a version of yourself while still kind of adapting to the parts you have to hide. And I feel like it was truly brilliant. And so anyways, I don't know how you go about talking about loving yourself and your identity, but also this other amazing thing that also helped make you who you are.
Those are all great thoughts. First off, you know, what makes me most excited is that you found a way in and that you felt seen. You know, I'm not, in my book, it's a memoir. It's me and my best friend going through this experience. And of course, yes, you meet a lot of the other recruits in there. But then in the show, the benefit, you know, Andy Parker created this gorgeous adaptation of my book. And the fact that we get to sit in that writer's room and build out these lives of all these other characters and talk about their hopes and dreams. Exactly what you're saying, Jeffrey. You know, there's a reason to have a it's hard. Sorry, it's early in the morning. There are a lot of people coming together to make this show, just like there are a lot of people that come together in your military unit to form that strength and go out and defend your country. It takes all of us. It took everybody on this call to make this show happen. And it only happened when you all got together and shared a like mind and said, let's get this thing together and put it out there. So that's whether you're writing a show or writing a book or living a life, you know, it's important to have allies. And the one thing that I learned was, you know, allyship is the key to everything for me.
Let me ask you a quick question, because there's someone that you talk a lot about in your, you know, experience of your memoir and Boots, et cetera. And that's Norman Lear, who was also a World War II veteran. And, you know,
I didn't know
that. Yep. He was a World War II veteran, I believe, Air Force.
Combat.
Yep. And I was just kind of wondering, like, you know, you knew him in such an intimate way. He really encouraged you and helped shape the show, et cetera. What do we not know about Norman that you might be willing to share with us today?
Gosh, I miss him so much. And I'm so happy to talk about him because he changed my life when he first hired me, and he never stopped. You know, the fact that he wanted to make this story is absolutely mind-blowing to me. And I'm so happy that it's being well received, because I just want to do everything I can to make him proud. I think what people maybe don't understand is that Norman shows always were for something. They always talked about something. And so the fact that you guys want to have this conversation about one of his shows is exactly what all of his shows did. He has a terrific organization called People for the American Way. I'd love people to learn more about that. That fights for our first 10 amendments. And you know, he was a patriot like no other. The missions that he flew in World War II were strictly because he was combating Nazism. And you know, that fight's not over. We have to continue to protect our democracy. And sometimes that starts right here at home.
Can I? Go ahead. Keep going.
I was just going to say, Jeffrey, you know, one of the things about the light that's being shined on my story right now, I certainly hope that it spills over and there's light that's shared by our entire community, not just the trans community or the veterans community, but the entire community. Everybody should find a way into the show and feel seen. That's what we tried to do.
I have other questions about that, but I did want to take the opportunity, just because we brought up like the complications of being American right now. And of course, I'm sure I'm not the first person to tell you that the Pentagon came out and called your show woke garbage, and that it was pushing an ideological agenda. I wonder if I could just like ask you, like, when you heard that, what was your reaction? And now that go ahead.
No, I was a little surprised, because that's what they're talking about is what we're trying to do in the show. So, you know, we have, there are some really great characters in our show. There are people that are legacy Marines that come in to cement that legacy or find their own way in. And I believe that we are the most accurate depiction of Marine Corps boot camp. That's what I strive to do in my book.
Oh, interesting.
And so I hope they watch the show, because we're certainly proud of it. And I hear from veterans and non-veterans every single day about just like what you're saying right here, that you found your way in or you felt seen. It's just you know, we didn't certainly set out to do anything political. I wrote the book 10 years ago, and I wrote it to combat bullying. You know, honestly, when the stories of young people, teenagers, began killing themselves over being bullied, I thought, okay, no, we need to write a story and show that bullies don't matter, that you matter. Take ownership of yourself and our right to be, and then that's always going to supersede a bullying moment.
If real quick, just to say, when my partner and I were watching the show, we did the thing that we always do, and where the world of the Marines is not something that I've ever had the privilege of being in. So I started going on the place that I know to go, which is Reddit. and there's a U.S. Marine Corps Reddit thread, and I was looking at their reviews of boots and not knowing what I was going to find. It is overwhelmingly like they love boots. And in fact, my favorite recurring comment would be really great, kind of gay.
Really great, kind of gay.
And it's just like these amazing, like these supportive Marines who are like, as gay as my boot camp was. And it hilariously funny, amazingly supportive. Like I'm showing my partner these comments going like, this is a world that I'm in love with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's I haven't been on Reddit, but I'd love to hear that. And let me tell you about the 3 military advisors that we had on set every day. So because obviously I'm on set as a producer and a writer, as well as someone watching them film my life story. But the first off, our cast is incredible, as you saw and enjoyed. Those boys worked their butts off to make it as authentic and you know, I'm so grateful for Sony and Netflix for wanting to strive for that authenticity too. Mm-hmm. But these 3 military advisors are the roughest, toughest Marines you will ever meet. And every day on set with them, it's like a cuddle puddle, you know, because that's how it is. We're all very excited to have these stories be told and find this light, but we also just genuinely like each other and like to hang around. So when you see pictures of groups of Marines hugging and cheering and having a great time, go online. The Marine Corps balls are happening this week, some are this weekend. Look at the camaraderie in there. That's what I was so excited to show, and that's what we really captured. And just so you know, the actors are just as close today as they were when we wrapped a year ago. They really did form a unit, and I couldn't love them more for loving each other so much.
I feel like one of the things that your show really touches on that I found really interesting, and actually something Meredith and I talked a lot about, is just like it was a different view of masculinity. And, you know, another thing that I've seen the new Department of War say is like they have these like standards, like if you don't meet male physical standards and maintain these grooming standards, maybe the military isn't for you. And I wonder, like, what was your vision of masculine? Like, how did you view masculinity in writing both your memoir and Boots?
First off, can I just say it's so crazy and wild that people are even talking about my story. That's the power of television. So thank you for doing that. It blows my mind. You know, I had these images in my head of Robert Redford, of big, strong, hairy-chested, virile men. And I thought, okay, that's what a man is. And I look at myself and I think that's not me. And it wasn't until, look, the Marine Corps was obviously a really extreme place to learn this, but it wasn't until I got in there and they gave me a chance to do something, and then I did it. So trust me, when I did those pull-ups and I ran and I fired that rifle and was successful at it, I was the most surprised person of all. So the more that I was being told that I was good at something, just like you see in the show, the more that Cameron is rewarded and makes advances. The same thing when Nash, look at Recruit Nash. He has to learn to become a member of a unit and not just be there to tick off something for his college resume, or the Bowman brothers. So the chance to explore all these different avenues of masculinity was, you know, it's a great place for me to be now, looking back and helping shape the show with the other writers. But you know, when I wrote the book, it was literally just an examination of how did I get to this place where I have the confidence to come on this show and even talk to you guys.
We love having you on the show to talk to us about all this. Do you have an opinion, like, generally on the male loneliness epidemic, you know, so to speak? My old boss, Scott Galloway, does a lot of, like, is on a tour right now of a book about, you know, male loneliness, and there's all sorts of conversation about it. But it sounds like what you're saying is like the military is actually a good place to combat the male loneliness epidemic. Do you have a thought?
Yes, it's a great place. Look, first off, you're never alone when you're training at Paris Island, because you're surrounded by 70 of your closest friends nonstop. But the fact that you just get to celebrate each other, all for a common cause, and also honoring each other's differences. You know, I regret that I had to serve in secret, because I would have loved to have joined in the conversations about who we were, you know, romantically involved with, who we were interested in. I had to change pronouns and do all that, but it's just a great place. I'm not saying that it's the place to combat male loneliness, but I will say, if you ask me about male loneliness, I would just say, guys, just reach out and talk to somebody. I guarantee you that somebody in your circle is interested in learning more about you.
That brings up an interesting point, because I wanted to ask you, you served in the military before Don't Ask, Don't Tell was signed into law in 1994. And I think
like
for
to
a
make
lot
things as difficult as possible.
But when it was signed into law, which, by the way, I was like doing all my research on this yesterday, and Clinton had campaigned on quite a different approach to the LGBTQIA community in the military. And then he kind of moved backwards on that. So I have a question. What was your reaction when that did become law in the early 90s?
You know, I respect Bill Clinton a lot for starting that conversation. Obviously, campaigns are built on promises, and everything can't be delivered upon. But he aimed high, and then he got in, and there was a Congress that pulled the reins in a little bit. But look, he started the conversation. I'm not saying it's a great thing. It's still, you know, the ultimate thing is for everybody to be able to be their authentic selves in service. We're you know, I look at it this way. We're an all volunteer military. We're asking young people from all around the country, from all walks of life, to be willing to exchange their life to protect our Constitution. Anybody wanting to do that and willing to do that and qualified to do that shouldn't be rejected for doing that. They should be embraced and celebrated for that sacrifice.
Yeah.
Sorry to bring the room down.
I wonder, what did you decide to make the Boots the TV show during Don't Ask, Don't Tell? Like, I'm curious why, because your memoir obviously was not, and then the TV show was. Why that choice?
We're actually still before Don't Ask, Don't Tell. We're set in 1990. I served in the 80s. The book is set in and then the show, we moved up to 1990. You know, the showrunner had that idea for a lot of reasons. One is it was his time, so he's more comfortable in that, I guess, maybe in that time period. And I certainly was there for that time as well. But we wanted to be able to take us to where the show ends, if that makes sense, without giving away for someone who hasn't seen the show. But where the show ends.
Season 2?
I hope so. We're ready. I've got all kinds of cute outfits for the writer's room. So
the most important.
Look, with your support and you're wanting to have this conversation, and you telling me without me knowing any of you, except that I follow you all on Instagram, is that you want to have this conversation, and you found this show independently of me, and we're talking about it. That's what gets you more seasons. The more that people talk about it and go in and watch about it, that's what Norman shows were all about. Just picture us back in 1971 after an episode of All in the Family. We'd be having a conversation about that. We'd be around the water cooler, and social media is the great water cooler.
Yeah.
You know, I just had one thing that, like, there's something that I truly love about it. And there's this, I love it when the unexpected person tells you something is okay. And for instance, what I got from Boots is a queer story saying, hey guys, I know you're judging, but the military, it's okay. Like, that reversal of understanding, it's what I know close to my heart, because I grew up around a lot of Republicans, and I find myself as a trans person going, by the way, hey, there's a lot of great Republicans out there, and you guys should give them a chance. And we have a lot in common. And that's this amazing twist on what your story is. It's understanding from the other side. That has the ability to change the world in a way that I think people don't even truly understand.
Jeffrey?
I agree. I think that's a wonderful way to look at it. You know, you heard politics of the past was about reaching across the aisle. This happens everywhere. You know, we can't become a nation against each other. We are the United States of America. So I love the reaching out.
Yeah.
It's funny. That was going to be almost my exact comment, Jeffrey and Meredith. I feel like we were all thinking the same thing, which is like, it kind of came from every direction. I could imagine somebody who, you know, has different political leanings than me coming across the show and then like finding their own unexpected surprises in it. And then there's me. And it was introduced to me by my gay best friend who's like, ooh, am I into like military guys now? And Meredith, you and your significant other were like, is this a boy show or is it a girl show? Like, who is this for? And I feel like that is part of what made it special, is it like couldn't be placed into one. Like, it's so easy right now to put ourselves into like codes of politics. Mm-hmm. And this is one that you just kind of couldn't.
Well, let me ask you guys this. Do you have veterans in your lives?
Not anymore. All my veterans were my grandparents. Like, I'm a generation below.
Mm-hmm.
What did their service mean to you?
Oh, you know, the other day I was working on a Sunday, you know, on my computer, because that's the like, you know, white collar life that I have. And my sister sent me a photo of my grandfather in he was also in the Air Force, and it was a picture of him in Italy smoking a cigarette on Christmas Day. And I had been in a really bad mood that I had to be working on Sunday. And I just had this feeling of my grandfather at like 20 something, who, by the way, this is what the only thing I'll add. My grandfather wanted to be in the Air Force so badly, but he had bad vision that he sent someone else to take the eye exam for him, which, Grandpa, you should not have done that. That is, but that is what he was willing to sacrifice. And so I just had this moment of like extreme gratitude. And we had Christopher Goldsmith on our show the other day, who is a veteran, and he does a lot of work on incels and fighting Nazis. And he was like, we are all descendants of the best Nazi fighters to ever live. And so we need to remind, and I had this moment of like, oh, I got to, oh, Meredith, you have to make a Canva today? Wow, what a hard life you live. That was my thought process. And I'm glad that I have that in the back of my mind. But I do worry. I talked to somebody about this the other day. I'm worried about what we're losing in not having veterans in our lives, you know, the way that we used to, some of us.
Yeah, I can't tell you how meaningful that is to hear your realization about your grandfather. Keep that fresh, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting how many stereotypes there are as we become more and more divided. And those go the other way too, where we have communities of people or queer people and we go, you guys hate us. And for every veteran that I have in my life, that's simply not true.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely listen, and you hear that by listening to, you learn that by listening to their stories, right? That the picture that you saw, Meredith, was a story. That picture of your grandfather smoking on Christmas Day, he wanted to be in a million places besides there, but he took a minute and posed for that picture and said, but I'm here doing this today.
Yeah. What do you wish, Greg, that people knew about veterans today like yourselves? You know, we have so many veterans who were in Operation Iraqi Freedom. We have so many veterans still who are living with the, you know, the pain of the Vietnam War and never received the proper recognition. What do you think you wish that folks like us knew about these veterans that we probably encounter every single day and we don't even realize?
Good question.
That is a really good question. I have a lot of thoughts about that, but I think the most important one is I want people to remember that when someone serves, their worldview is instantly expanded. They've seen more than the average person. They've been exposed to more. They understand more. I've met people from every walk of life. I wouldn't have done that had I stayed in Lubbock, Texas. And you know, and what I did to join was crazy. I didn't pass the physical. I lied my way into the denying the homosexuality thing, but I failed the physical. And if you know the story about what I had to do to pass, it is pretty funny. But what I want to say is hire a veteran. When you see a resume come in with military experience, float that to the top. That person has seen more, done more, has loyalty and dedication. So hire a veteran. That's what I like.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that.
We've seen some shit.
You've seen some shit, and you've seen some shit from a young age and shit that like I will never see or experience no matter what's on my resume.
And we understand a purpose. So whether it's fighting for our country or fighting for the success of your corporation, put us in there.
Yeah. I have a really strong memory from, I went to rehab once upon a time. Everything's great now. Many years later, but there were a lot of veterans. They took the insurance for veterans. It was a Texas rehab. And there's a couple of things, but the feeling of camaraderie when a veteran, and it means more to me as a trans man, but like put his hand on me and was like, I don't care what you are, you're my brother. I was like, the feeling of acceptance, there is truly, I believe so many veterans see the world differently and just see you as someone to protect. And we may not see completely eye to eye, but there's a different type of humanity that I think is really beautiful.
I love that you saw that. You know, I never expected to have that camaraderie with my fellow men, and to have that, you know, I think one of the most gorgeous scenes in the show is in the final episode when they're crossing the finish line and Cameron comes in a little bit later. That's what you're talking about, Jeffrey. It's magical.
Greg Cope-White, thank you so much for your service. Thank you for being here. Thank you for writing. Everybody should go read The Pink Marine, written by Greg Cope-White, a brilliant memoir, and then go watch Boots on Netflix, which is an absolute delight. And I guess we're all fingers crossed, but I think sounds like we might get a season 2 if you loved season 1.
Yeah.
Keep watching.
Thank you so much, Greg. We really appreciate you being here.
Thank you all very much. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you for your service.
What a delight.
Wow, you guys. Obsessed.
Yeah.
Obsessed.
I have all
if
the
Greg is
feels.
still with us. Oh, sorry.
We're an amazing human.
Yeah. And like, it really is, you know, like what you said, Jeffrey, and what the show, like, yeah, it's so easy to like look at the news and be like, man, we sure do hate one another. And then you hear like Greg and you hear about the military, and like, it's just a bunch of people who like are actually, you know, rooting for other people. Like, it's not, you know.
Yeah.
I was
really
just
is.
thinking, Jeffrey, we got to get Greg to come to your, you're doing an hour pretty soon. You have an hour comedy show that you're doing. And I think we got to get this little gang together to go for
Yes.
show.
Yeah, this is really lovely. What a brilliant, what a well-spoken human, able to, it's just really lovely to see someone talk about their world in the way that he does. It really makes him and the people in his life shine in a way that I think that's what opens doors. It's making a story that's surprisingly queer.
Yes.
Yes.
An entry point. Like, I couldn't have loved that more. It's like, I just thought it was fascinating that like I could come to it, you could come to it, my gay best friend could come to it, and I'm sure a Republican, like, you know, mother of somebody in the military could come to it, and also like it was an entry point for everybody. And in this moment where everything feels so tense and bad, like,
yeah. It's so much fun to go into a show and then be like, well, I think I'm less prejudiced against the military now.
I know.
Yeah. I also think it also makes you like your own prejudices, right? You're like, yeah, what did I think about men in the military? You know, like it's very easy on the left to be like, well, we don't have prejudices. And it's like, no.
And to be a queer person watching the show and then be drawn to the other characters and see them in, sometimes more of you in them, where it's like, oh, this is the guy with the messed up this or that, or this is why he was looking for himself. And this is the person's relationship with their brother, where you go like, you get to see yourself in all these moments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Speaking of moments, what's having a moment for you?
Oh, great question. What's having a moment for me? I was supposed to know this ahead of time, wasn't I?
Could be anything. Could be anything.
Yeah.
I guess now the answer is the military's having a moment for you.
Yeah. I mean, I lived boots for a bit, but I'm, I don't know. I'm loving life right now. Life is I think video games are having a moment right now. I'm working with a video game show right now, and it's very cool. And I think video game storytelling has gotten more queer as well.
Interesting.
And I think that's the thing that we're going to see a lot more of, is really cool storytelling in video games. So
Ooh.
I know
that's another entry point for like different people to, like that's interesting. That's something to watch.
Queer stories are going to be everywhere, and it's a really beautiful thing.
Good.
What about y'all?
Meredith, are you having a moment?
What's having a moment for me is I'm back to having a middle part. As much as my powers will allow. And you know what? I think a lot of people are talking about it. Like, I told my sister, I was like, hey, I have a middle part again. She was like, yeah, I noticed. I saw it on Instagram.
Wow.
So
wait, is that Gen Z or is it millennial? Like, who owns the middle part now? Because for a while it was Gen Z, but now I feel like millennials caught on to it to do it. And now it's millennial again. What's
God?
Yeah, I think who owns the middle part? Whoever has the middle part.
Mostly, I think it's rude to be that flexible and be able to have, like, how dare you? I've had a singular type of part since before I was a man.
I know, I've seen the photos.
That's hilarious. Your part precedes your gender.
I'll be honest, it doesn't want to do this. It doesn't want to go forward, but it's going. We're going to make
You're
it
going to do it, and you like it because society says.
Yes.
I'm cool.
Rebecca, what's having a moment for you?
The show All Her Fault.
Oh, sure.
It's the first time in a long time I've seen like a really fun thriller. There was a little while where there were all these like white lady mom thrillers on TV that were like pretty well done, and then they went away, and All Her Fault is it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's like whatever the opposite of the New York Times coming out and saying, did women ruin the workplace? This is like, did men ruin like fatherhood and families and home and money? And it's like, but it's a fun TV show, and it surprised me at every turn and got crazier and crazier and crazier until the end, where you were like, television.
I haven't seen it yet, so don't tell me. I won't. Excited. I've been microdosing it, which means watching 2 episodes a night. That's microdosing.
Wow,
I know. It's self-control.
Wait,
you guys,
I actually have. Sorry, if you have. Look, I have one thing just to ruin your week.
Ruin it.
It's probably already going that way.
I was teaching this high school student, and I overheard her from afar. This was about a week or so ago, and she said she was watching a new show. I think it's called The Summer I Turned Pretty or something.
Yes.
And she said, again, she's in high school. She said, they're doing this really cool marketing technique where they're like coming out, instead of like it all being out, they're like coming out with like 1 episode every week.
Oh my God. Oh no. Oh wow. That is a marketing. Okay.
Wait till I tell them about the fact that there used to be a time where you would yell, "It's coming back on!" Racing from the bathroom, like, "Yeah, I gotta get there!" Like, yes. Oh my God!
Yeah.
You know what? I'm just glad I'm just so glad that so many of them have not had to suffer from a teen consumer the way that I had to for so many years. And now, it's okay for them to get a taste of it. I love it. Wow.
Anyways,
Well, on that note, Jeffrey, thank you so much. It was such a delight to have you here. Come back literally anytime.
Thanks for having me.
Okay.
And Meredith,
Bye,
thank you.
y'all.